Welcome to the Viral Times, your daily source of breaking news, trending stories, and viral updates around the world. On April 5, 2025, widespread protests erupted across the United States and various international cities in response to President Donald Trump's recent tariff policies and other administration's actions. These demonstrations, collectively known as the hands-off protest, reflected deep-seated concerns over economic stability, civil liberties, and the influence of the key administration figures such as Elon Musk.
They should not be removing references to diversity, equity, and inclusion. They should not be defunding government programs like the National Institutes of Health and USAID that funded humanitarian organizations around the world. They are literally killing thousands of people with their incredibly inhumane policies.
What would you say to people that tell you, well, Trump just won a democratic election?
I would say that nothing he's doing now is what he campaigned on. So even people who voted for him are not getting what they voted for. With the tariffs, everyone has lost money. Eggs are not cheaper. They're not having a better life. So they should be even angrier than anyone else.
That's great, Alyssa.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Protests in the United States *. In United States, the hands-off protests spanned all 50 states, drawing participants from diverse demographics, notably including middle-aged and older citizens. The primary grievances centered on the administration's economic decisions, particularly the imposition of extensive tariffs and the appointment of Elon Musk to government roles, notably through the White House Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Protesters expressed fears about the impact of these policies on retirement savings, Social Security, and the broader economy. In cities like Chicago, demonstrators voiced concerns over financial losses in the stock market and criticized tariffs for increasing prices and exacerbating economic hardships. The protests also addressed issues such as cuts to social services, immigration policies, and environmental regulations. Notably, figures, including Representative Jamie Raskin, Democrat Maryland, participated in the events in Washington, D.C., denouncing the administration's actions and advocating for protection of the civil liberties. Despite the fervent opposition, the demonstrations remained largely peaceful. International protests *. Internationally, solidarity protests occurred in several European cities, including Frankfurt, Berlin, Paris, London, Lisbon. Organized by groups such as Democrats Abroad, these demonstrations attracted hundreds of participants who opposed President Trump's tariff policies and the involvement of Elon Musk in U.S. governance. In Frankfurt, protesters called for Trump's resignation, while in Berlin, demonstrators targeted Musk with slogans like, "Shut up Elon, no one voted for you," reflecting concerns over his governmental influence. Paris saw around 200 protesters, primarily Americans, voicing opposition to the Trump administration with slogans advocating for democracy and civil rights. In London, chants such as "Hands off Canada," "Hands off Greenland," and "Hands off Ukraine" highlighted apprehensions about U.S. foreign policy. These coordinated protests underscored global unease regarding the Trump administration's domestic and international policies. Reactions from affected countries *. The imposition of tariffs by U.S. prompted strong reactions from affected nations. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum advocated for dialogue over confrontation but announced retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods, emphasizing the need to defend Mexico's interests. Similarly, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney announced countermeasures, including 25% levies on various U.S. imports, highlighting the potential economic repercussions of the U.S. tariffs, expressing intentions to challenge the decision before the World Trade Organization and implement unspecified countermeasures. These global protests and governmental responses reflect widespread concern over the economic and diplomatic ramifications of the Trump administration's tariff policies, as well as apprehensions about the broader direction of U.S. domestic and foreign policy.
I think the only country that hasn't had tariffs placed on it is Russia, I think. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure he covered pretty much everybody else.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I don't want to speak for the government. I'm not even sure I understand the logic behind putting tariffs on the island with only penguins, but the one answer I've heard, and can only paraphrase, is that there are already so many sanctions on Russia and there's so little trade. But again, I don't understand the logic behind a lot of it.
Okay, Michael, thank you so much
Sure.
for your time. Thank you.
Yeah, no, my pleasure.
Thanks.
The global impact of President Trump's 2025 tariff policies and the resulting hands-off protests is complex, producing both negative and limited short-term positive effects. Here's a breakdown. Negative global impacts. 1. Economic uncertainty and market volatility. Global markets have responded with instability. Investors fear a resurgence of trade wars, which could disrupt supply chains. Countries like China, Canada, and Mexico are imposing retaliatory tariffs, further escalating trade tensions. 2. Rising costs for consumers. Tariffs on raw materials and manufactured goods increase production costs, leading to higher prices for consumers globally. Developing countries relying on U.S. imports or exports may see significant price surges and inflationary pressure. 3. Strained diplomatic relations. Allies such as Canada, Germany, France, and the UK have condemned the tariffs, calling them protectionist and destabilizing. Protests in European cities demonstrate global dissatisfaction with U.S. policies, potentially weakening diplomatic goodwill.
A lot of times they don't know how, and when they try, it's really hard. And so my message to overseas Americans is you can vote. Go to votefromabroad.org, and we can help you vote. But it's more than just voting. We also have to be active citizens. We have to contact our legislators and make sure that they hear from us and that we let them know what we want them to do. And if they're doing a good job, we say thank you. I think it's really, really important that our legislators hear from us and that they act accordingly, and they will. A lot of people take our democracy for granted, and we can't take it for granted. So my message is vote and be an active citizen.
Hasn't Trump just won the election fair and square?
Oh, he's definitely was elected fairly, for sure. But a very important statistic is that 37% of over 18s did not vote. That was the biggest vote getter in the last election. And yes, Trump won of those who voted, but to me, I think the biggest travesty is that people feel so disempowered in our country that they think their vote won't matter. And there are very good reasons they think that. There's too much money in politics, their districts are gerrymandered. But the thing is, that can be changed. It's really important to vote at the state and local level, to influence the laws at the state level, to make sure that districts are fair, but it's also important at the national level because there will be elections coming up. There could be special elections that happen, and then there will be the midterms in 2026. And I have helped too many voters abroad who thought they were all set, but they weren't. So it's not too early to get ready for 2026.
Great, thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it. Elizabeth, there was another speaker, a man, a young...
Eric.
4. Uncertainty for businesses. Multinational companies are facing supply chain disruption and new barriers to trade, especially those relying on US-based components or exports. This forces businesses to reconsider operations and future investments in the US. Positive, short-term or strategic, impacts. 1. Domestic industry boost, US-focused. The tariffs aim to protect US industries like steel, automotive, and tech hardware from foreign competition. In the short term, this could create or preserve jobs in certain sectors and reduce reliance on imports. 2. Strategic leverage. Some policymakers argue that tariffs provide the U.S. leverage in trade negotiations, especially with China and Mexico. It's a strategy to push for more favorable trade terms or enforce intellectual property rights. Global reactions and long-term view. Global protests indicate that the world sees more harm than good in these policies. Economists warn of a possible recession-like slowdown if a full trade war reignites. The long-term negative impact on global cooperation, diplomacy, and economic growth could outweigh any short-term benefits.
Project 2026 plan.
I'm living life on a merry-go-round. vets carried the flag. Trump hugs the flag because he's a draft dodger. That man hates veterans. He's doing everything he can to destroy the Veterans Administration. That ship of fools that he's appointed to his cabinet who talk on non-confidential lines with regard to airstrikes are a bunch of clowns. They're clown shells. This is a disaster for the United States. Collective security is the only way to go now, and everything he's doing to make NATO weaker makes the United States weaker. And we will regret this for a very long time. We need law firms to stand up and join in the lawsuits filed by the lawyers that have courage against the Trump administration, trying to keep lawyers out of the courtroom, lawyers who have done good. Not all lawyers do good, but we got a bunch of big firms out there that rolled over.
I believe Donald Trump is trying to tear our country down. The only thing that makes sense is he is working on the behalf of Putin. I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense. I mean, the things that he's doing is not trying to make America better. He's ruining our infrastructure, like every department in our government he's ruining. And he's right now destroying our economy. He's taken away all of our allies. We're a pariah in the world. And Congress sits back and does nothing. And we have to stand up and take our country back.
Ho ho! Elon Musk has got to go! Hey hey! Ho ho! Elon Musk has got to go!
Hands off Canada.
Hands off Canada!
Hands off Greenland.
Hands off Greenland!
Only by citizens upholding American values both at home and abroad. And no matter where you're from, whether you're outraged by cuts to humanitarian funding, attacks on long-term...
There's so many funny signs. Turn right, that's right. There's so many good signs here. And that you had a faster protest. Yeah, hard to cheer those, I know. But they're important.
Hands off Ukraine!
Hands off Ukraine.
Hands off Ukraine! Hands off!
The Trump regime is turning its back on, even threatening...
Yes, that's true. Actually, they probably
Because Donald Trump is nothing but a hands off the UK.
Hands off the UK!
The policies Trump is following are a threat to the world as we have come to know it and enjoy it as very privileged Westerners, and it continues to threaten people in other countries around the world. It's not a question of location, it's a question of principle.
His energy that he's encouraging other people to have, that he's kind of the avatar of this hideous energy that has erupted like a boil on the face of humanity. And we have to pop this boil. And I think the only way really to do it is to talk about his comb over, talk about how fat he is, how gross he is. How anybody can think he's anything other than that is just perplexing, is it not? So, I mean, that's really, I guess everything grows out of that. Everything he represents, it's like if you took the worst of America and shoved it into one body, it would be Donald Trump.
He's a horrible, small-minded person who is easily maneuvered. And the people who are maneuvering him are very, very, very dangerous. And he's very dangerous, but he's a small-minded and not, frankly, very smart person. So, no, I hope, I don't know what to hope. I just hope this is over soon. He's now
Ukrainian children, so we now have no weapons. Continue that warning.
Jewish, Arab friends in...
This is a song by Bob Dylan called Masters of...
Get under the sky and let freedom ring.
Great volunteers in the audience. Yes?
I just want to say, liberation in France was in 1944.
A inondé la zone. La vraie expression vient de... Nous sommes là pour nous joindre à des millions de concitoyens qui sont en train de manifester contre.
Yes.
Hands off means restore what we've had as a democracy. And so it's being touched in the most dangerous ways. In fact, when we were making our poster and we were saying what to have hands off, we had trouble limiting the list. The list got so long between free speech and reproductive rights and Social Security. I mean, we could have done 20 other things, and those are all being impacted and being overhauled in ways that nobody intended.
Ça va être quelque chose réellement à voir. Vous entendez bien de moi. Merci, Gilles.
And I would say it's embarrassing, but it has an impact on everyone's lives throughout the world. He's upending economies of some of the poorest countries in the world on a whim. What do you say? And to stop that, I don't know how we're going to stop that unless he has another whim to reverse it. But the ball's all in his court, which is the scary part.
Now, there's two things that actually we've seen.
Thanks for watching. Stay tuned with us and hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons.